Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Well, today we're going to install some servos. Hope everyone had a great week and everyone is doing good. So yeah, on to the next step, installing servos into the transmission. Now they are all cleaned and I have all the new seals and gaskets installed. And I also have the steel rings installed as well too. And they are all ready to go. So all we're going to do is get this well lubed up and get them in. Hopefully everything goes smooth. I'm going to use my C-clamp again to compress these gently, just so I can get the snap rings in. But I don't anticipate any problems, so let's get at her. So as with everything on here, transmission fluid on all surfaces. Anything that's touching, sliding, moving, anything is rubber, everything in general. Get everything lubed up nice, just to make sure we don't have any issues. We don't want to rip or tear any of the seals at all. We don't want to score things up. We want things to move nice. So this is the bottom part of this servo here. So it was just a lip seal that I had to replace on this. The plunger here, there's a snap ring, but there's no kit that goes in here. So I washed this out. It's moving nice and smooth, so we should be good there. That's that part. Now, this one's a pretty easy fit. Nothing too fancy about it. Just gonna make sure you kind of rotate as you go, so that lip seal stays, it's like a cup. It's kind of shaped this way. You want to make sure it doesn't roll up on itself. You want to get it kind of tucked in. There's a tapered edge, so it drops right down nice. Then we got the spring. And just like anything else, where any surfaces meet, because they're going to be touching together for a while, we're going to make sure that we get them lubed up. And everything is good. That all holds in there nice. And this will end up coming down as the adjustment for it. So everything looks good there. All I got to do now is get my clamp to hold that down so I can get my snap ring in place. Well, that kind of went way faster and way easier than I thought. And I didn't even have to use a C-clamp. I assembled it together, lubed it up, assembled it together. I put the clamp on top and I thought I'd see if I could push it down with my hand, and it went down so nice, and I snapped the clip in and it was done. That was it. So that one went in quite well. So let's see if we can get a look in here. So you can see what the servo looks like inside. So that's the part there that's pushing against the spring. As the fluid would build underneath of it, it would push this up. The arm here, which locks into that servo, as that pushes up, this has another lever on this side. There's going to be the brake band on here for the reverse gear. So as you put it in reverse, the pressure builds on this side. As the transmission is spinning, tightens up the belt or the band on the back side here, causing this here drum to turn, putting your car into reverse. I almost said tractor. Used to mess with tractors all day. So yeah, it's a pretty simple little setup. Easy to go together. Not really much to this. I was really worried when I first started taking this transmission apart, but I'm learning real quick that as long as you just pay attention to what you're doing, it goes together quite well and comes apart quite well. So, on to the second servo. And that was a bit of a whirlwind that I didn't video. But I have the reverse band in, which required taking the drum out about 20 times, trying to get this thing lined up. And I even got my little piece in here that was so hard to get out the last time. But I just did just took up the slack by my finger. And when I pull this outside lever, you can see how that band works, how it jams against that inner drum. So this solenoid here, the pressure would build, pulling that lever, engaging that drum, locking it in, and causing those clutches to grab and giving you a reverse. But now we're on to a set of planetary drives. I really want to get them in so I get the snap ring on, because nothing is holding the shaft in here except for the weight of the transmission bell housing. Now I did upgrade my board here, as you can see, to a 3/4 inch piece of pine, because I was getting worried that my little plywood one would snap off. So we'll get the planetary carrier, get that cleaned up, lubed up, and get ready to drop that in. These parts should go fairly easy. This is the planetary carrier. I lubed up the little snub nose that's going to fit down inside the shaft there. Also put a little bit inside. We'll end up getting oiling that up a little better. But it's pretty straightforward. Down she goes until we, there we go, right on the splines, and we are in. So that's the carrier. Next step is going to be the first set. The planetary is going down in there. This is her here. That's the next step. So we're going to get that ready to go here. Going to lube it up really good. Get it nice and clean. Then make sure that there's no issues at all when we drop that down in there. Get the planetary all well lubed up and gooped. And everything turning just beautiful. There we go. In she goes. Next up we have the bearing. The drum, the carrier drum for the clutch packs rides on. There it goes. Now there's little notches here. Let me get this out to actually show you. See those little teeth hanging off it? There's little holes that they fit right into. Keeps them from spinning, but allows the drum to spin around on that. Alright, next up is the carrier drum. Got this well lubed up as well. There's 2 bronze bushings inside there. 1 on each side. And I've also re-lubed the shaft where they're riding. So there we go. In. It's not very exciting, I'm sorry, but that's her. Now we got another bushing. Little tabs in there, of course, that it lines up with, and it sits in there right nice. Now the next planetary, 3 parts: the carrier, the bearing, and of course the planetary itself. I have to assemble this separately to make sure everything gets lubed, because I got to do it all in one piece so this stays centered inside here and doesn't fall off the little notches where it goes in, just so I can get it all together and try to set it down in there all in one piece. And hopefully get this whole thing in there without it coming apart. There we are. We're in. Stay together. Oh, and we're the perfect height for the snap ring to go in. So everything is where it's supposed to be. Everything is just tight. I'm right at the edge of that snap ring. So get that snap ring on. Then we're going to get a lot of juice, a lot of transmission down in here. There we go. The complete planetary drive is together. Both halves, top and bottom, or I guess front and back, depending how you look at it. Went together good, and got the perfect spacing for my snap ring, so everything is fine. Now, my next step is to put in my first set of actual clutch packs, and hopefully I can line all the teeth up, because they all got to fit down inside here. Now, the first order of business, very important. Make sure our little fiber spacer washer is in here. Make sure that's on. And it's all well lubed up and good in there. Nice and clean. Everything else is clean, looking good. I have all the planetary oiled up well. I'm going to put some more on the outside of the teeth here, the splines, just to help it slide into the clutch a little better. But we're going to get that first clutch drum, slide it in, see how it goes. All right, we got her well lubed up again. Oh, there it goes. There's another disc. We are in. All 4 discs are lined up. Well, I think I got pretty lucky on that one. Oh, there it goes. There it goes, the last little click. We're definitely in. That went way better than I was expecting. One more to go. All right. Forward clutch pack going in. It's getting tight. Putting both hands in here. Working it all together, but we are getting it done. So looking good. So far, everything has gone together fairly smooth. Not too hard at all. And hopefully that's a good thing. And as I'm going, my parts are disappearing, which is awesome. This better be empty when I got this whole thing finished and put together, because I don't want to have any surprises once this is all done. But, gotta get this on. I went with a pick, and I lined up all the teeth on the clutch disc the best I can. I'm gonna slide that down, getting these here lugs to fit in here on the drum. Hopefully they'll all seat in fine. Not much I can do to record it, so we're going to cut back when she's all finished. Well, I'm having trouble. I cannot get the last disc to line up on this thing. Of course, the more discs that go through, the harder it is to turn the shaft, because I'm trying to turn the entire transmission. So you can see I got a gap here. If I grab the shaft on the inside, it rocks really easy. Now, it should be sitting on a bearing face as big as this, so it should be no rocking at all. It should be a nice flat surface. So I've taken it off, and I've seen that the last disc up in there is just a little bit out, but I cannot seem to get it to stay together. I set them up all perfect here. By the time I get them in there, just a bumping and wiggling, they're out of place. So I'm not really sure what to do, but trial and error, I guess. Pull it off again for the whatever millionth time and try it one more time. Well, I did a little tidy to reassess my situation about this clutch pack. And I did take it out 2 more times, trying to figure this out. And the whole time, I have the answer sitting right here. And I never even thought about checking the book, getting frustrated, thinking one thing, and just hitting out that problem and coming up to the same conclusion. It is not going in. Well, so 4 times ago, I had it correct. The book states that when this is connected properly and put in, that these tabs are actually just about level with the top of this drum. Just like I have it now. They should be right at the top. This is considered normal. And you know what? Being stubborn and getting frustrated got me nowhere, when really I should have just checked the book, because you know what? That's what I have it for. So I do have the rear clutch pack, or the front clutch pack is indeed installed correctly with the correct spacing. So now that we have solved the problem with the forward clutch pack and got that figured out, and we know we're good to go there, now we're on to the front band. So This has been soaking for quite a while now. Just kind of let it drip off a little bit so I can bring it over here. We're going to assemble that, get that in there, and hopefully everything lines up good. Let me get the pieces on and get it all locked in there properly. So it's going to be fitting between this little control cam here and this nub here, which is the adjustment screw from the outside. And that's what's going to be pushing it together to take up the slack. And it's pretty easy to adjust this initially, to set it. The book is pretty clear about it. So we're going to drop that down inside there and see if I can get it lined up. And slick as that, the front of a band is in. Now that was real easy going in. Now there's a top and bottom. This is that aftermarket band. So it is a little different than the original. It has a cutout around the center and holes drilled through it all the way around, which is kind of more of a performance, not like high-end performance, but just a performance enhancement thing that they've done over the years. So the new band that I got in there is supposed to be better, supposed to grab a little tighter. So with the band in, we got this bar over here, this adjustment bar, or I guess this will be the push bar. And this side is the adjustment lever that goes to the outside of the transmission down here. And that's where we'll be setting our tension on it. So all I do, I just got it finger tight, which I can still just barely wiggle it a little bit. I don't want to get it too tight yet, because I still got to put my pump in the rotor, and I might have to turn that a little bit, so I want to make sure I can turn this by hand. So, yeah, went together good. And like I said, there is top and bottom. You can see how offset this is. And of course, that has to be as straight as you can from the pushing here from the servo. And the same goes with the little wedge here that adjusts it on the other side. So now it's time to grab the pump. I'm going to unwrap that pump and make sure it's clean. I've double checked this surface. I'm still clean. We'll lube this a little and get ready to drop that pump on. All right, I have my pump prepped. Got everything lubed around the outside of the pump, the drive, the center drive. Got the inside bushings lubed, and I went around the outside of the ring here as well. Oh, and remember, don't forget your spacer here that it rides on. Inside, again, cleaned, well lubed, all down inside. And I got my gasket set in here. And I also got a little transmission fluid all around the outside here, just to make sure I don't roll this seal over. This is not round, it's square. So you want to make sure when you're pushing it in, it's not going dry and it hooks the edge and rolls it over. It'll end up cutting it, because there's no clearance at all in there. So if you don't get it nice and lined up and lubed so it slides in nice, it'll roll that seal and it'll cut it right off. It'll just shear it right off as it's pressed down in there. Pump is in and torque down. It went in smooth, no problems at all. I just made sure that as I was setting that down in there, that my holes were perfectly lined up so there was no turning of the pump, to offset my gasket in there. But she slid right in, put all my bolts in, just finger tightened them and then snug them up with the ratchet, just gentle until it sucked that pump down. So just worked a crisscross pattern, just like if you're doing the tires on your car. And then they got torqued down to 150 inch-pounds. Again, light. All the bolts inside this transmission, they're low torque. But I guess that's what the big book says, and I'm not going to doubt it again. I'm going to stick by my Bible. So now, man, it's coming together good. It's coming together real good. But I got to get this thing out of here, get it laid down onto my table, because now it's time to start getting ready to put that valve body in. All right, that transmission laid down and supported right at the base here to the end. We don't want to be laying it down full length from the tip of that shaft to the end of the bell housing, because there's no bearing other than here. There's no bearing holding that shaft straight, and inside you're going to be, with that stub shaft end, you're going to be forcing it up onto the bronze bushing that's in there. And until we get the tail shaft housing on, there's no other bearing to hold this thing straight between the two. So you want to make sure that it's not pushing in. Now on here, this is the separate shaft on the other transmission, and they are connected just by a nub as big as the end of your finger. So when that one pushes up and bends on that brass bushing, This one's doing the opposite, pushing the other way, and it'll be pushing those bushings as well too. So we're gonna make sure we keep it off the end of that shaft, just with the weight of it hanging there. So that gives us the ability to get our valve body on. I have my servo in already, just the same as I did the other ones. Tapped it in, slid right in. Got the spring on, got my bolts ready, and everything is clean here. I did take off my shifting link. This is the part that the wire, your cable, connects to. That goes out to the side right there. Got rid of that. That gets in the way when I'm trying to do this. I'll set that into the other side, put on the nut, and then we'll be good there. But everything is lubed. I'm going to actually put a little bit more lube on this, but it should be ready to go. So our next step is moving in, adjusting these lower reverse bands and our front kickdown band. Now it's pretty straightforward. We do want to make sure that we are doing this correctly. And there's a lot, not really a lot going on, but there's something going on here with the kickdown band. That's the big front one. There's multiple options to set this thing at. And I did some research just trying to look at this transmission, getting some information on it. And I cannot come up with the numbers that they're reading here. Now, something tells me this has to do with application depending on which car it's in, heavier car, lighter car, if this is actually in a truck or something like that. Probably how tight that thing grabs when you push the pedal down and it cuts in, when it kicks in and takes off. I'm sure that's what it has to do with. Now, it does state up here that if you do not know the application method, this is what you follow. So the unknown ratio, it starts at 2 1/4 turns. Now this is okay. This band, this front band, and these adjustments here, I can do this from outside the transmission easily. I can just reach underneath the car with a ratchet and a wrench. I can readjust this and set this all day long, no problem to reach. The low and reverse band, that is inside only. And in order to readjust this, you'd have to dump your fluid, pull your pan, do your adjustment, probably get a new seal. You might as well change the filter while you're in there, all that stuff. But this one is dead set. 72 inch-pounds, 2 turns off, and that is it. It's supposed to be done. And it's easy to get to now. This is it here, but this is where the pan's going to go on and close it up. So only one adjustment on there, which is good. This band here, the one that's on the front of the transmission, my kickdown band, that adjustment is on here on the outside. Very easy to get to, not worried about it. If it's not grabbing hard enough or I find it slipping, then it's something that we could adjust on the side of the road if we had to. But we can come back and take care of that. Now I was able to borrow 1132 stud socket. This is on a 3/8 drive, but it is an impact stud socket. Goes right on there, so I can torque this down and get them set. So we're going with the 72 inch-pounds. We're going to back this one off 2 turns. I'm going to back off the other one 2 1/4 turns. All right, well that went from great to absolutely sucks in about 3 seconds. Okay, I have my torque wrench set to 72 inch-pounds. Now 72 inch-pounds is not lots. That's how little it is. I can break that out by hand easy. So I started tightening my nut here, my adjuster, and I was nowhere near that 72 inch-pounds. And all of a sudden there was a pop. And the little nub that pushed against the band has popped off and is gone somewheres. Unfortunately, I have my valve body on already. So we're going to yank that off, and hopefully I can get that brought around, because if that lever fell off and I can't get it, the entire transmission's got to come apart in order to get down in there and grab that little adjuster tab. Well, I went all back over my book again and shown how to install the reverse drum and the reverse band, and everything I did according to the book here was correct. The only thing I can think of is the little strut, which this piece here, it goes in this way. Down inside where it rides on this little finger underneath here, it's hard to see. Maybe I wasn't fully in the groove. Maybe I was just on the edge of the finger and it popped off. because it is hard to get down in there. And once I start tightening it up with my other hand, I can't really see it in there anymore. And that's my only thought, is that it wasn't quite seated in there properly. So I'm going to go at it again, get it in, and hopefully that was the issue. All right, so let's get some light on the situation here. I have the strut back in. Sorry about the angle of the phone here, but okay, so right there at the very end of my screwdriver, that's that strut. Now right down here, that is a notch. It goes in like a 1/4 inch deep. It's quite a notch. That's where the end of this little strut fits. And the other end, you can actually see it's like a 45-degree angle in there, and it's quite a long edge on it. There's no way it can fall out. So I must have had the strut up on the very nose of this, right on the edge here. And when I tightened it up, it just popped off and then slipped down inside. Because the way it is now, there's no way that could ever fall out. So, whew, you don't know how nervous I was thinking that I would drop that down inside there and have to take this thing apart again. But now that we're in the right spot, again, I'm gonna throw the torque wrench on there, see what happens. All right, we have success. We are now torqued to 72 inch-pounds. And you know what? 72 inch-pounds on here is not much, but man, that band is tight. Man, did that grab good. So that is looking real fine. Everything stayed in place. So yeah, I guess final verdict is the strut, I must have had it just grabbing the nose of that lever by mistake, and I didn't notice it, and it made it popped off. So now that it's in there, and it's 72 inch-pounds, this is the rear band. So we're going to take this off 2 full turns, and that should be the final adjustment. So now that the valve body back in, and both bands are now fully torqued and backed off where they're supposed to be, almost time to close this up. Oh, I did put my little shifter lever. It's in there and torqued down. Next thing is my filter. So we got the little rubber filter gasket that goes on there, and our filter. Now, there are multiple versions of this filter for this torque flight transmission, depending on which one you're using it. Mine has the rear pump. So you need to make sure your filter has 2 inlets to draw from. Pump is drawn from both sides. One pulling from the back and one for the internal pump as well, up to the front there. You got to make sure you have the right filter. Now, the other filter will fit on here. The 3 holes line up, but the problem is you're starving your rear pump. It's not going to be able to pull enough fluid through this filter mesh in order the fuel itself. So it's going to have to go through the hole where you get the whole surface allowing the fluid goes in. So very important. If you have your torque flight has the rear pump and a front pump, make sure you get 2 large holes in your filter. All right, filter is in place. Got them all snugged up nicely. And I went and grabbed my gasket, and I got that all in place. Now, what I'm thinking though, right here, this is where my dipstick tube comes through. And I'm just wondering if I should actually notch that out. I think I should take the corner out just a little bit. On my pan, it's flat right around that corner, and it's even dipped further than the gasket is, right where it goes in there. So I'm going to mark this out, going to push on it, see if I can get a line. I'm going to take a little bit of it out because the dipstick tube hangs down quite a bit, and I don't want it chewing on this, knocking pieces off into the system. And also when you push the stick in, I don't want it to be chipping at that. And there we go. Just a little tiny piece I cut out, nothing big. But now, with this lined up, I'm away from that hole. So that'll be good. When this comes through, I don't have to worry about chipping off that little piece and have it going around in there. So now all we got to do is throw the pan on, which is a little bit shiny. It's the original pan. I just cleaned it up, threw some rust primer on it, high heat, and threw on some high heat engine enamel. And I don't know, I'll never see it again probably, hopefully. But you know what, it'll be nice. underneath there. Oil pan is on, looking good. So all those bolts go into 150 inch-pounds. So one around it, then I went around it again. And what I'll do is after this sits for a couple days, I'll go on it one more time as it seats that gasket and it slowly squishes it down. I'll go on it one more time to 150 and that'll be it. But now it's time to stand this thing up and work on that tail shaft. All right, transmission is on and time to fit the rear tail shaft on there. So I got my gasket all lined up here nice, making sure I'm not covering any of the holes. This does fit the other way, but it does not line up with this little hole here on each side. So make sure you get that in the right spot. Everything looks good. Tail is ready to go on. All right, these bolts, they get torqued down to 25 foot-pounds and they are done. The tail of the transmission is on. Looking good, looking real good. So next step, we're gonna lube up our bearing. Gonna tap our bearing inside here, got a snap ring, then we'll put on our oil seal. Well, that piece of the puzzle's done. I end up putting bearing in, my snap ring, my seal, and I even torqued on my rear yoke. Now, this gets torqued on to 175 foot-pounds, which was a bugger of a thing to hold this transmission down on the table and do that. I end up putting a punch between my studs there and got it. But transmission is complete. I installed my kickdown linkage, got that all in nice. I even got my torque converter in. Got it back, got it in. I don't think I even, I can't remember if I did the unboxing video of that or not. I have it on my TikTok, but I don't know if I put it here. And of course, my dipstick tube. This is the original tube for the transmission. I ended up throwing that in the sandblaster, cleaning it up, cleaned up really nice, redid the top, did that in red. I think it looks sharp. I think it looks really sharp. But that is it. That is the complete build of the A727 Torque Flight. Man, am I ever happy to have that done. A little nervous at spots, but we got her together. Everything went together as per spec as the book showed. Everything runs smooth. I turn the shaft and it just feels beautiful, just like butter inside there. Of course, we're not going to really know until it's on that engine and that engine's putting out some horsepower, throwing it through it. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for following along. Thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the comments. That's all I got for you this week. Catch you again later. But that is it. That is the complete build of the A727 Torque Flight. Man, am I ever happy to have that done. A little nervous at spots, but we got her together. Everything went together as per spec as the book showed. Everything runs smooth. I turn the shaft and it just feels beautiful, just like butter inside there. Of course, we're not going to really know until it's on that engine and that engine's putting out some horsepower, throwing it through it. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for following along. Thanks for the subscribes. Thanks for the comments. That's all I got for you this week. Catch you again later.